Good morning, everyone. Good news, I'm the last speaker. Um, so don't be too hard on me. So this morning, I am going to speak about a couple of compliance issues that we've noticed with more and more frequency over the past, I would say 4 months, really. So the first issue that I'm going to speak on, Roger actually touched on this in his remarks towards the end. We have had many, I won't say many, but I guess it feels like many to me because I get the phone calls about them. We've been having an increasing number of marketplace facilitators getting audited, and marketplace sellers have been found to have been remitting the tax post January 1st, 2021 in my experience with these cases, it seems to be less than a year, so a number of months though, and those transactions do pile up. Second issue is lack of certificates that have been provided by marketplace facilitators to marketplace sellers that are required by the statute. So marketplace facilitators, as Roger had mentioned previously, the statute's pretty clear that they are considered the retailer of all transactions over the marketplace, including those of the sellers, post January 1st, 2021. I should say, as long as they hit a tax remittance threshold. Always make that caveat. The statute does not provide any way to opt out of that obligation. So when this happens, and we have a situation where the seller has been for a number of months remitting the tax on all of those transactions that it makes over the marketplace, the proper procedure to go through to correct that issue is really we just adhere to Section 6 of the Retailer's Occupation Tax Act, but essentially marketplace sellers are going to have to refund the marketplace facilitator that tax. Marketplace sellers may then file a claim for credit with the Department of Revenue. We will process that. And marketplace facilitators then must file an amended return, including the sales of its marketplace sellers that it had initially left off. That is the proper way to go about correcting this situation. So we have been approached by different practitioners requesting to accept affidavits by the marketplace sellers to give credit to facilitators who are in audit for sales tax that have been remitted by the sellers. Audit's position has been not to accept these affidavits, and there are reasons behind that, very valid reasons. As Roger indicated, I firmly agree with him. We do not want to collect tax twice. We cannot collect tax twice. This is a hard issue. So the issues on what prohibits us from just accepting an affidavit from a seller and moving on. It may seem easy, but it really isn't. There are real sourcing issues at play here. When a seller is remitting the tax, they're likely doing it based on their origin, so where they are physically located, instead of the destination of where that sale is supposed to be, where the item is supposed to be delivered. So we don't know, first of all, if the right tax rate has been applied, and then we don't know if the right local government has received the tax. Likely they have not. And that's a real issue, obviously. We want local governments to get the tax revenue that they are entitled to. Second of all, the tax base would likely be incorrect if it is being remitted by a seller versus a marketplace facilitator. We would have no way of knowing if the marketplace facilitator, any fees or delivery charges were included in that tax base when the seller calculated the tax. And just like I mentioned before, the length of the period at issue, months and months and months of these transactions, it's just not feasible for the department to audit individual sellers to ensure that the tax was properly remitted in each of these cases. So audit would essentially need to audit each individual marketplace seller in these situations. So that's why we've been saying no. it feels unreasonable. It might feel unreasonable to people when I tell them no, but those are reasons why we have to say no at this point. So we have also noticed through the course of our audits that certificates have not been provided by marketplace facilitators to their sellers making sales over their platforms. The statute requires this. It's set out in the statute, set out in our regulations. They need to certify to each marketplace seller that they have assumed the rights and duties of a retailer in that transaction and that they are going to remit those taxes on behalf of the seller. They are required to do that annually. We have seen several situations where they are not. Facilitators and sellers are not required to use the standard CRT 63 form that we provide, but the certificate needs to contain the same information that is set out in our rule. So if someone is going to make their own, they really need to consult the rule first. There are records requirements for both sellers and facilitators, and if marketplace sellers receive a certificate, which they should, and if they don't, they really need to contact the Department of Revenue and make us aware of that situation. But once they do receive the certificate, they need to keep that in their books for all sales made over the marketplace. Don't send them to the department. We don't want them. That's a lot of paper. So just have that there in case you get audited so we can see that you've received your certificate. The department regularly requests these certificates as proof that the tax was paid in these transactions, so it's really helpful to have. And lastly here for you all, so this is a copy of the CRT 63. This is the certificate that we need. And as you can see, it's pretty user-friendly. It's very straightforward. This is not a heavy lift for marketplace facilitators to provide this to their sellers in every situation. There's even a helpful place in step 3 for you to list any other taxes that the marketplace facilitator is assuming liability for. So especially, I know in this neck of the woods, there's a lot of locally imposed food and beverage taxes. So if you're a marketplace facilitator, doing food delivery services, that's a helpful one to have. So yes, very straightforward. The instructions on this form provide even more detail. If any of you represent a marketplace facilitator or a seller, please advise them to start either giving these or receiving these.